This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of effective copywriting. We are down to the wire, one more week left to go. And this week, you're going to be writing about your campaign in 2 different ways. So once you do the research paper, then you should have no problem doing the mastery journal, because that mastery journal assignment, I'll go over them more in detail in a minute, but the mastery journal is all about the process of developing the campaign, and the research paper is writing the research paper so that you're prepared to do a client pitch. So both assignments kind of inform each other. So once you do one, the other one will be easier to do. So I recommend doing the research paper first, then writing your mastery journal. But I'll go over all that. But first, what I want to talk about tonight is writing for new media. And with new media, it can mean any form of digital communication, whether you're doing social media for a brand or developing web copy, maybe you're creating on-air spots for their YouTube channel, all these different forms of communication, somebody's writing the content. So what you can do with your new knowledge of copywriting is, freelance doing some writing things. So when you're writing for interactive, you have a variety of things that are needing the content. So if it's journalism or copywriting, that's writing to be read. Writing to be heard is like radio and narration. That's a different kind of writing, because you have to write visually for radio because they can't see anything. So your writing has to paint the picture for your listener. And when you're writing to be seen, you're having to combine, visuals with the written word and the audio on top of it. So you have to know a little bit about how to communicate to your target audience and what your media is that you're using to communicate to them. So with content marketing, and if you take your knowledge of copywriting and expand on it, it can open up a whole stream of revenue for you if you're like freelancing, because you can help write blogs, and you can write articles for online newspapers like Vox or BuzzFeed. I did some writing for a while for one of them. I forget, it's not around anymore, but I made some extra money. You can help with interviews. You can write creative briefs, design briefs, copy briefs. You can write scripts for video. Right now, I'm currently writing a lot of scripts because I'm going to do some new videos for the 2 classes I teach here at Full Sail. So using my copywriting skills, I'm, basically selling my students on a concept that I'm presenting. And social media. Everybody's got a social media presence, and every time we turn around, there's a new thing going on. So if you're suddenly have a brand that's speaking to a younger audience and you suddenly are charged with doing TikTok videos, you have to understand how to write for those. But as with any type of writing, spelling and grammar, punctuation count. Remember, if you're going to present the written word to someone, make sure it's all spelled right. Double check it. Use every tool available to you. Remember to be concise. With people reading on the screen, you don't have their attention for very long because they click faster than they turn a page, actually. So you want to be concise but thorough. You want to make sure, if you're writing for a specific brand or a client, that you're saying things the same way throughout all your writing. So if you're doing an annual report for a company and you're writing it in pieces, you want to make sure that it all sounds like it's coming from the same voice. You always want to have active sentences, so don't be talking in the passive voice. And that's a really good thing to turn on in your Microsoft Word under your preferences. When you go to spelling and grammar, you can check off everything. And it helps you with when you use passive voice. And always go beyond, make a difference, be creative. Now, when you're writing for the web, it's so different than writing from print, because when people are reading a magazine, they're flipping the pages, they're reading a book, they're flipping the pages. Even when you're reading a digital magazine, you're still flipping pages. But with web copy, it's totally different. So web copy, most people are scanning it. They're not reading it word for word. So you want to think about how you grab a reader's attention on the web. So you want to think about copy in an inverted pyramid. So the top is the big part of the pyramid, and then the less important information ends up at the point of the pyramid at the bottom. So you want to think about giving the most important information first. Because remember, people using the web are probably coming to your website to get information. Maybe they saw your nonprofit's print ad and they want to make a donation. So everything has to be like right there because they're going to scan. They're not going to read blocks and blocks of copy. So some tips for writing web copy are important because they'll help you with writing concise copy that helps your nonprofit organization raise money or your product gets sold. So your website visitors are coming to your website because they're looking for specific information. So you want to make sure that the information of the product that you are selling, whether it's a nonprofit or a service or a product, that they can easily find what they're looking for. So you want to put your most important information first, so it's like one of the first things they read. And remember, you don't control where they go, so you have to make sure every page can hold that standalone test. Like if they land in the middle of your website, there's a way to get home and the architecture is all clear. And if they want to make a donation, it doesn't matter which page they land on, that donate button and that donate page is always easy to get to. So don't be overly creative and don't overwrite all your copy, because keep it simple because people are coming there for specific information. And since they don't read websites word for word and they scan them, you want to write your copy in a way that can be scanned easily. So you want to make sure your headlines are communicating what you're about. So if it's your about page or if it's your contact page, you want to make sure that your headline communicates what that page is about. You want to make sure that if there's an image on the page that it communicates the sales message with the words, creates that synergy. If you're using subheads and easy to scan bullets to reduce wordiness, make sure it all makes sense. I always say write your copy, put it down for a day, come back with it with fresh eyes, but make sure you step into the shoes of your consumer first. Then read the copy as if you were that target audience member and see if it makes sense. So you want to use familiar words. You don't want to overwrite or sound overly academic unless it's an academic website. You're writing for people who really don't like to read that much. We have so much information thrown at us that it's really hard to stay focused on things. So write for people who don't like to read. So paragraphs should be short. Keep it to like 4 sentences. Sentences themselves should be short. 12 words on average is good. My best test of using short sentences is to read it aloud. If you gasp for breath before you finish the sentence, that's your cue that your sentence is too long. That's actually from Walt Whitman. He says a line of poetry should be as long as a breath. You want to skip unnecessary words, so that's a way to help you avoid wordiness. Avoid jargon, passive tense, and needless repetition. And you want to be familiar with your audience, so it's okay to use the second tense and use the word you. Now remember, you don't control where they go, so people arriving on your website might not start reading at the beginning on your home page and then go to your about page and then go to the product list or the special services that your company does. So you want to make sure each page is easily scannable and that each page clarifies what your site is about. So not only does the branding have to look the same across, but it should sound the same across all the pages. And the pages should be clearly marked as to what they are. That's why the use of headlines is really good, and making sure that there's always a way for them to get back to the beginning. If they land in the middle and they're really intrigued and they want to start from the beginning, you have to make it easy for them. So always double check your architecture. And the last thing is, how do you get people to your website? Well, you want to make it easy for people to find it and lure those potential customers to your website. So you want to make sure that you're always proofreading through that customer's eyes and that you're answering any questions before they're even asked. And you want to keep it like one key topic per page, and you want to make sure all of your links are always working. So, just because you do the website and it's up, you should make a habit of checking it every other week or every month, and make it part of your workflow. So you always want to be specific, you always want to be clear, and you want to be bold. So if you want, Wix has some really good information about target marketing and using the web and how to write content for the web. There's also writing for the web on linkedinlearning.com, and George Felton in our textbook actually has a really good chapter on interactive advertising and social media, so check that out. Okay, so I was talking last week a lot about the research paper and telling you that it's really helping you to prepare to do your client pitch. So when you do a pitch to a client, what you're doing is you're selling them your ideas. You want them to hire you to do their ad campaign, not the other guy. So it's really important that you know your concepts in and out, that you thoroughly understand who the client is. So I'm going to walk you through some ideas on how to present to a client and what not to do. The first thing you want to do is be confident. That's why doing your research is important. You don't want to fake it, because they will know that you're faking it. So do your research before you get in the room. Understand the company inside and out. I remember being on a job interview once and I didn't check out the whole website and I got called out on it, and I can still hear that woman's voice in my head. So do your research, take the extra time to really understand what you're pitching and who you're pitching it to, and have the answers to the questions before they're even asked. If you know your research and you've done it and you feel confident in your campaign concepts, then you should have no problem being confident. It helps if you know who's going to be in the room. So you want to know, is it the president of the nonprofit organization, for example? Is it the director of communications? Is it a board of trustees member? Always try to find out who's going to be in the pitch so you can forge that connection as soon as you come in. Because you don't want to tailor a presentation geared towards the big decision maker if it's just 3 levels down to the director of communication. So you want to do the research on who will be present. And I know with nonprofit organizations, you can always go to their website and find out the key players for any organization. So it's really important that your pitch has a structure to it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to share the insights that you gained from all the research that you did, because research is part of what they are paying for. So you want to explain the conclusion based on the insights you gained from that research. Then you're going to articulate your concept. So it would be after researching the target audience, members ages 25 to 54, we realized that they really hate purple. I'm just going to throw something out there. So based on the fact that they hate purple, we've avoided any hues of purple in your brand new logo design. As a result, we've decided that the best way to go about your color scheme, and then you articulate the concepts and then you explain the why. That's why we have you writing rationales each week, because it's not really like, well, you like purple, so you're going to force purple on your client. That's not going to go. You've done the research. You understand what it is the company is trying to do and who their target audience is. And that's the concept that you are creating, because every piece of advertising out there, whether it's for a Frisbee or for a nonprofit organization, the end goal is to, sell the product, sell the organization, get the donations. So then you want to communicate how the concept will be put forth. So how will it be conveyed in other media? So I've mentioned that you're already doing the testimonial magazine ads because that's the initial thought the client gave you. But now you have these people live in front of you, so you can give them ideas on how else they can expand the campaign so that you can sell them on more ideas and make more money and, really flesh it out. So think about how a magazine print ad testimonials can be expanded into public service announcements that can not only run on the area's local stations for free, because they all have to have public service announcements on them. But you can also put them on the website of the organization. You can create a YouTube channel for them. And imagine your spokespeople that you have in the magazine ad now being live, to tape on these commercials that you're creating. So think about other ways that you can expand the media plan and how that will help them raise more money, or in case of a product, sell more products. Then you want to reveal the benefit, why you're executing it the way you're executing it. That again goes back to that research you did on the target audience and understanding who they are through the development of your personas, through the research you do on what that target audience is consuming right now, what types of media. You want to state the takeaway of the campaign and reiterate the goal of the campaign. So the takeaway is, if the goal of the campaign is to raise money, the takeaway would be, as a result of this magazine ad testimonial campaign that we're doing for your organization, we're going to hopefully find new members that are going to join your PBS station and be annual givers and turn into extreme users from here on out. Okay, so that's what you want to think about when you're structuring your pitch. So we're going to go about that, thinking about a pitch in the future, by writing this campaign research paper. It is 5 to 8 pages, so it's not that long, and you've already done most of the research. So with the introduction, you're talking about who the organization is and naming them and what their problem statement is. That is, they want to raise money, they want to raise awareness. Then state your thesis. And I went over this last week, but I actually have it right here. A thesis statement is the backbone of your paper. So if you have trouble writing thesis statements, there is a sample one here to help you flesh yours out. So you're going to end your introductory paragraph with your thesis statement that really just says the purpose of this paper is to discuss the advertising campaign for the audience and how that campaign would help them raise more money so that they can continue to do the work that they do as outlined in their mission statement. Step 2 is you're going to cover the body of the paper, and that should be about 800 words. So you want to give specifics on the company itself. Well, that's all on their about page. So there's one of your resources. You're going to talk about what differentiates your nonprofit organization from the competition. And you looked at your competition in week 1 when you did the Settle and Alric 15 catalog of needs, and you examined the competition. Then you're going to talk about your target audience. Well, you've already done that research in your personas project, so talk about your target audience. Then talk about the voice and tone of the campaign and how it's going to speak to that target audience. You did research on voice and tone in week 1, so those resources are already there. So at this point, we're up to like 3 out of your 5 to 8 secondary sources. Then you want to talk about why this project is important. So why are you solving this advertising problem for them? Why is it important? Usually it's tied into the mission statement of the nonprofit and that idea of, this is what we do, this is why we do it, and this is why we need the help of the audience to help us continue our good work. The second half of the body is all about your advertising campaign. So you're going to talk about your media plan and how to expand it beyond print and the why. So your research about your target audience is going to come into play here. If your target audience is, 18 to 30, they're ingesting media very differently than the audience members 40 to 65. So know the media that you're talking about and tie it into your target audience. Then you want to talk about the actual design. What you're actually pitching with your magazine ads. Tell us why you chose the images you chose. Why did you choose the type of testimonial that you chose? Okay, that's the Felton textbook. So there's secondary source number 4. So go and define, if you did extreme users, if you did not the person but the thing, if you did any one of the celebrity, ironic, any one of the testimonials that you used, if you're talking about it, use George Felton's words as a direct quote to define what that testimonial type is. This part of the paper, it says right here, is selling your client on the campaign. So you have to convince the client to spend money with you to solve their advertising problem. So that's where you're going to get it into the details about their campaign and what they're doing. So I have some other things here, writing for television, if you want to learn about that, read that. So you're going to write this 5 to 8 page paper with 5 to 7 or 8 secondary sources, most of which you already have, but you have to get 2 from the Full Sail library. So you want to go in. Last week, I actually walked you through the library. So if you didn't watch last week's archive, it's still up and available. So go to that archive and fast forward to the part where I walk you through the library and how to search for sources for your nonprofit organization and your fundraising campaign, and how to whittle down the number of hits that you get when you first do a broad search. So that's all there for you in the archive from last week. So this week, what I want you to really focus on is writing this paper with using the introduction, the body, and then the conclusion is going to wrap up the whole paper. The paper is also going to have an abstract because it's, longer than 3 pages. You have to have an abstract. An abstract is no less than 250 words, and it talks about it's a kind of a summary of the entire paper. So it should talk about the organization and the campaign that you're developing and touch on that. So 250 word abstract. Remember, this is an APA style paper. I just put up a video on how APA is we're now using the 7th edition of the APA style handbook. So please watch that video on the changes. So make sure your paper is in proper APA style. If you struggle with APA style, which, I struggle with MLA and I've been writing it for 20 years, I still have to look up everything. No one is ever going to be an expert on these. But let me show you a quick and easy way to do a new document in Word using the APA style template that is right here. So what you're going to do is go under File and go New from Template. And once New from Template pops up, anytime now, not let go, New from Template. Okay, here's all my templates. Here's a research paper. Here's a resume. If you need resumes, in month 12, we're going to be doing a resume workshop. Here's APA right here. When you double click this, it'll open up a Word document in APA style. So all you have to do is go in here and put your title in, Red Rover Campaign Solutions for Young Audiences, your name, and Full Sail University. When you get into this part, you can just double click in your header and footer and put that in there. So all you have to do is strike over. You can take this out. You don't need an author's note. So you can just delete that. Boop. You can delete the table of contents. Boop. There's where your abstract goes. The abstract for my class is 250 words. Must be 250 words, no less. I count. Then you start your paper on page 3, and the title goes first, and then you just type in your paper. And then when you get to the references, which should be on page, at least page, let's see, 1, 2, 7 or 8, then you put it here. It's telling you how to do it: last name, initials, year, article title, journal title, pages. So it's all kind of mapped out. Then after the reference pages is some other stuff. You can just delete that. You can delete the tables, you can delete the pictures and all that stuff. Boom. So right now I have an APA style paper, that a little template that I can use for everything. Okay, so that's in Microsoft Word. Use the template. It just makes it easier. No, don't say. Okay. So the paper is due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. The knowledge check is also due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. and you get a couple of chances to correct your answers. The live session concepts is due this Friday, so make sure you get the 3 concepts from this live session and you talk about them. And it's not on the assignments, it's on the concepts. So I talked about things like content marketing. I talked about writing for the web, I talked about presenting to a client. So those are concepts. Writing about the research paper is not a concept. All right, so let's talk about the mastery assignment and how these two assignments work, kind of coincide. So once you have the research paper written, you have the whole thing written out about your campaign. And then the mastery assignment is really just putting into your mastery journal the process of developing these testimonial ads. This is worth 15% of your grade, so make sure you're following everything that's here. So the first thing you're going to do is begin by reviewing what you read this month in advertising concept and copy, and the tutorials that you did for the testimonial ads. And then considering that research from those tutorials and the textbook, you're going to write a 4 to 5 page reflection of your experience creating the concepts and writing copy for those testimonial ads. You're going to directly quote from the Felton text and the tutorials, which you've done some of this already. So think about where you keep everything, and that will help you save some time. You must include relevant screenshots. So I want to see the sketches, the personas, the initial comps, and the final comps all in your mastery journal. And you're going to talk about each step of it along the way. So when you discuss your six sketches with the different types of testimonials, talk about why you chose them. You've already done that with the rationale. Hopefully you took my feedback into to heart and will correct anything that was wrong. You're going to talk about your initial comps and how you developed your 3 strongest concepts from the 6. Then you're going to talk about the changes you made with the revised comps. Then the last thing you're going to do separate from that is you're going to write your 3 takeaways from effective copywriting that you will use as you move forward through the degree program and then into the future. And then you're going to post all this in your mastery journal, and you're going to post the link to your mastery journal in the FSO window. Make sure it is the link to the whole mastery journal, not just the page you just developed, because sometimes those don't work. But if you can get me to your home page, your initial page that you set up in mastery in month 1, then I can find your work. If I struggle with not being able to get to your mastery journal, you'll get a 0 on the assignment, and that's pretty bad. So if I can't get to it, I always reach out and I call or I send you an email saying, I need a link that works. So make sure your links work, double check them in a second browser. I always have 3 browsers ready for me. So I'm working in Safari now, but what I'll do is I'll get my mastery journal and I'll open up Chrome and put the link in there and double check that it works. So make sure everything's working. Okay, so your mastery journal is all about the campaign. Your research paper is all about the campaign. So once you write one of these, you can write the other one with ease because everything's all done already. Okay, so this week the mastery journal is due on Sunday, the live session concepts on Friday, the knowledge check, and the research paper on Sunday. So you have some time to work on everything, so please get started on it now. I'm hoping that you got started on your research paper earlier, maybe over the weekend you did some research or you just gathered your sources together. I always read with intention when I'm going through dissertation right now. So you want to talk about a working bibliography with hundreds of sources in it. You learn how to be really productive and how to best use your time. So if you need any tips, my best tip is to read with intention. You know what you're writing about. So if you're reading an article about fundraising and there's a quote that sticks out to you, copy and paste it right away into a Word document. That way you have it. Okay, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, next month you go into design research with Bartley Argo. He's awesome. You're going to learn a lot. He does live sessions. I think he does them twice a week. It's a great class. You'll learn a lot, and he's awesome. So finish everything up by Sunday, because I want you to go into design research on Monday with nothing left due for effective copywriting. It's really important that you work on that time management so that you're not asking for extensions in week 4 and starting a new class. It's just too stressful. So let's get working and finish up this class. It's been great working with you guys this month, and I really appreciate those of you who come to the live sessions, thank you so much. I'm glad you're all watching the archives though, and taking to heart the feedback that I got to you each week. So don't forget to fill out your course evaluation in your student.fullsail.edu email account. Okay, if you're watching this on the archive and you have any questions about anything I covered, please reach out to me. Earlier in the week is better so that I can help you. If you're struggling with finding research for your research paper, also reach out to me. We can do a live one-on-one go-to meeting and we'll go find research together. Just, contact me and let me know your availability and I'll set that up. Okay. Thanks everybody. I'm going to turn off the recording now.
Right on. Thank you.